Hey, welcome to this video. First of all, thank you for signing up for your physiological testing session. In this video, I'm going to explain what tests you need to do before you come to see me for your physiological profile and how the test will go on the day, so you have all the information you need before you come and see me, and you know what to expect for the testing day. So there's going to be 2 tests that you need to do before you come and see me. Ideally, you do those tests in the 2 to 3 weeks preceding your physiological test. Why are we doing those 2 tests? First of all, it gives us some performance metrics that we can track over time after you've done your next training cycle, and then as you move forward in time. And secondly, those 2 efforts that you're going to do in the 2 or 3 weeks before you come and see me are going to serve to calibrate your step test, so we get the best and most usable data for your profile. Everybody's going to have a different profile, different starting and ending point, and it's important to calibrate the test to your current abilities so that we get all the information that we need. So the 2 tests that you're going to do is a 3 minutes for average watts and a 12 minute for average watts. So those are both maximal efforts. They're going to be done on the modality that you picked for the test. So it's normally going to be on the bike erg. Ideally, you leave at least 48 hours in between those 2 tests, those 2 efforts, the 3 minute and the 12 minute. If you have to do them the same day for time constraints, you can do your 3 minute test followed by a 45-minute easy spin, and then your 12-minute test afterwards. For each test, I recommend that you do a thorough warm-up. So what I mean by thorough is at least 15 to 20 minutes of warm-up before you do those efforts. And what you want to do is include some intensity in the last, say, 8 minutes of that warm-up, so that you're nice and ready to go for those all-out efforts. So on the 3 minutes test, what you're going to do is program a 3-minute single time into your bike erg. Your RPMs, your cadence, is going to be somewhere between 90 and 105 RPMs. And what you're going to do is adjust your damper accordingly. Okay, so don't go with a fixed damper. You want to make sure that whatever watts you're going to be hitting, you are at about 90 to 105 RPMs throughout the 3 minutes. If your cadence is lower than this, it's going to be really heavy on the legs for the 3 minutes, so I don't recommend it. And if you're much higher than 105 RPMs, you might feel like you're spinning on empty. So that sweet spot is usually between 90 and 105. Now, the score is going to be your average watts on the 3 minutes. So what you do is you finish your effort, then you go into the memory screen of your PM5 and you look at the average watts over the 3 minutes. It's not the first minute, it's not the last minute, it's the average watts over the 3 minutes that I want. If you're able to do a big sprint at the end of your 3 minutes, it means you went out a little bit too slow on your test. And the other way around, if you see a little drop in power in the last, say, 30 seconds, while you're trying to go faster, that's good. That means you really emptied the tank, gave everything that you had, and that gives us a good result. What you want is to have nothing left at the end of those 3 minutes. For the men, typical results are between 300 and 420 watts. 420 is high. I've only had a few people go above 400. So make sure you start accordingly and according to your abilities on this test. And for women, usual scores are between 200 and 330 watts. I've only had one person go above 300 watts on the women's side on the 3 minute test. So again, be sure of what you're doing when it comes to picking the right intensity for this 3 minute test. Now for the 12-minute test, it's a single time again. So you plan your 12-minute single time into your PM5 on the bike erg, if that's the modality that you're going to be testing with. The cadence this time is going to be a little bit lower, somewhere between 85 and 100 RPMs is usually where people are comfortable. Again, you adjust the damper after you've picked your watts, your target watts, and that you have the right RPMs. Don't just set your damper arbitrarily at 4 or 5 and then have to pedal very slowly. It's better to, kind of target the watts first and then fix your cadence in that range that I gave you, and damper gets adjusted accordingly. It's quite a different effort than the 3 minute is. This one's going to be a progressive effort. So if you think of the 12 minutes and you break them down into 4 segments of 3 minutes each, what you want to think about is having an RPE, so a rating of perceived exertion effort out of 10 would be 7.5 for the first 3 minutes, 8.5 for the following 3 minutes, 9.5 for the 3 minutes after that, and 10 out of 10 on the last 3 minutes of the test. It's a long and a hard test, so be ready mentally. You don't want to start too low, but you don't want to start too high either in terms of power. If you start too high and you have to slow down, that's not good. So try to be progressive throughout your test. Start at a good 7.5 and keep progressing like that. Average watts, again, from the memory screen, you give me the average watts for the 12 minutes that you did. Typical men's scores are between 220 and 350 watts. Again, above 300 is a solid score, so make sure you're ready for it if you're aiming for those numbers. On the women's side, 100 to 250 watts are typical scores for those 12 minutes. Make sure you input those results for the 3 and 12 minutes in the questionnaire that you fill out a few days before you come and do your testing session. On the day of the testing session, so if you have a heart rate strap, as it says in the email, you can bring it, a Polar that we're going to be using to record your heart rate. If not, I have some. So we were going to put on your heart rate strap. We're going to take a lactate sample before you start your test, and then we're going to go on and start the step test. And the step test is composed of 4-minute efforts with 1-minute breaks in between. So it's a 4 minutes on, 1 minute off format. And we start at a low intensity. And again, the exact intensity will be calibrated based on the results that you gave me on the 3 and the 12-minute tests. Okay. So, but you're essentially going to start at about a 1 out of 10 in terms of effort, and essentially finish on a 10 out of 10. And you're going to do around 10 steps. Some people do it a little bit less, some people do a little bit more, but based on the calibration and all the tests that I've done so far, that's usually where we're going to fall. The first 30 minutes of the test is really easy, so you're going to get a nice big warm up, and the last 15 to 20 minutes are usually where it starts to sting a little bit more. After the test, obviously, you're going to get your test report, so all your results. You're going to get your lactate curve, your thresholds, your training zones, and then some ideas on how to optimize your training. And if you picked the program on the back end, you will get that as well. So if you have any questions regarding the 3 and 12-minute tests before you do them, make sure you leave a comment below this video and I can answer them directly and give you all the details that you might need that I might have forgotten in that video. In the meantime, look forward to seeing you for your tests. Hope you have a good 3 and 12-minute effort. Good luck with those, and I'll see you soon for your lactate testing profile. See you soon.